Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting for Monday, April 1st. I'd like to ask everybody that can to stand as we start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Addition, deletions, or amendments? Will anybody sign up for citizen participation? Okay, as I call up your name, if you would come to the podium, Marianne, put your name and so people at home can see you. Aaron? Yep. Markovich? Close. Oh, good. Yeah. Welcome, sir.
The right neighborhood at any rate. Good evening, everybody. My name's Aaron Markovich. I'm the Executive Director of Maryland Milestones, the Anacostia Trails Heritage Area. As some of you may know, and others may not, you are part of a Maryland Certified Heritage Area. And so that means that every year I come around to all the councils and introduce myself for those that may be new, those that may have forgotten, and just give you an opportunity to connect with me if you have any questions about what it is that we do and how we help serve your community. We do this around the time of the budget season, just to factor that in. Of course, as you know, but I always like to make sure folks do know, Bowie is a major tourism engine for us, and you have, I really want to give a shout out to your staff. You have a fantastic staff that's great to work with. They have been able to apply for several different grants that you've received from us. A couple years ago, there was $9,000 for the museum program. There have been mini grants, and now there is a new submission, which between you, me, and I guess anybody else watching is ranked #1 in our system for $75,000. So that could be a very large grant coming in for you all. We won't know that until June what exactly happens with it, but things have been going pretty well so far. I like to let you all know that our office is based over in Hyattsville inside the Pyramid Atlantic Arts Center, and if you haven't been there, I encourage you to come over. We have an arts coordinator who has some art shows in that space, and she's been working with Bowie State to get an art show put there, I think in the fall, maybe early spring of next year, but she's been working with them. We have a second staff person who has been working on Battle of Bladensburg issues, as well as the creation of a civil rights trail for Prince George's County. This program is going to be very exciting. We're just meeting with a graphic designer to develop the website for it, but there will be signage placed around the county indicating different ways civil rights has interplayed with Prince George's County. As I mentioned, this is grant season, so we've been doing a lot of grant reviews. We've also been developing a variety of metrics and reporting so that you can tell that we're doing our job. And of course, as you can tell outside the window, the trees are in bloom, so that means it is time for bike tour season. We will start tours in May with a variety of bike tours, either leaving out of Hyattsville or a variety of different locations. I think our Bowie tour is, we go all the way into September, and I think it's in September that we're going to do a WB&A tour. So folks that are interested will be sure to work with your staff to get that information listed out there for residents who may want to join us, and we will explore the history of that, as well as the Lincoln community, Old Bowie itself, the Glendale area, the plant introduction station, et cetera, et cetera. We'll go all the way up to where that bridge is going to be whenever that finally gets here. So the final thing that I wanted to mention is that we continue to seek a representative to our quarterly board of advisors. Your staff is very engaged with us, but we encourage somebody from the council or your designee to attend those quarterly. It's a board of advisors and provides input to our regular day-to-day board of directors operations. So that just meets on a quarterly basis and comes with a pretty nice meal along with it. So, but I wanted to end there. I just wanted to give you that quick update. If anybody has any questions about the things we do, again, history, art, culture, and nature. If you've got a grant program, you're talking to constituents, and there is some sort of program that comes up and they say, wouldn't it be great if we told more about this history or did something more with public art or something like that, send them my way, and you can always go to marylandmilestones.org and be happy to answer questions about grants, technical assistance, marketing for it, etc.
All right. Any questions for our guests? Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you stopping by. Oh, you had a question? Oh, Dr. Trout, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the information. I do have a question for you because I'm trying to
see if this is closely related to another project that we're looking at, and that's the arts and humanities. And so I did attend a presentation with Rhonda Dallas.
Yes, Rhonda. Mm-hmm.
Does she work for you?
She doesn't work for me. We're kind of similar organizations, but yeah, she has her own grants program.
Right.
And actually, those two grants programs can dovetail together. So if there's an application there, ours is state funding, so they can actually work together.
Okay, because I did send out an email about a week ago to Conrad Hurling.
Okay, Conrad, yeah.
Okay, letting him know that I want to try to set up, not right now because we're getting ready to go into the budget.
In the budget season.
So we're going to be in the budget for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we can get a meeting set up in June, early part of June.
Yeah.
Or the middle of June, to see where we can get some help in trying to start up this the arts district.
Yeah.
Because we like to really do that. We've got a few people that are working over in District 1. They've made presentations to the council, but they don't have some of the contacts. And so fortunately, I was there, and I know Conrad very well because Conrad and I served.
He's my neighbor.
Okay, all right. He was my secretary when I was the president of the Prince George's County Municipal Association. So we have a real good rapport. So I definitely would like to get your card and see if we can put this in the works after the budget session concludes, because we've got a group that is already formed in the city of Bowie.
Yeah.
And they've already started some of the legwork. And so I want to try to see if I can make it as easy for them as I can to, make sure that they don't have to reinvent the wheel, since the wheel has already been invented.
That's right.
And we got some contacts. I know Conrad just met Miss Rhonda Dallas for the first time about a month ago.
And we'd be able to bring in, our office is located within the Gateway Arts District, and I have been working with a group from Laurel that's working on an arts district as well. So
right, because she really mentioned, in fact, I'm gonna have to check it out, but she mentioned this project which is on Route 1. She called it 3807.
Oh yeah. That's a Landex project.
Right, right. So if you could get that information to the city manager who sits right over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you and I can exchange cards, leave a card up there, and I'll leave a card for you and so forth and so on, and we can get it done. Because we want to get it started, at least around June.
Yeah.
Start the ball rolling around June.
Sounds good.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right.
Well, thank you very much for the visit. Okay.
I'll come to you. No worries.
Okay. All right, item next is, one of the things that makes this city really great is when people come together to tackle issues, challenges, bring people together, bring resources together to address problems and challenges that affect the community. And one of the things we're going to do tonight, at the recommendation of a council member and staff, we're going to recognize one of those groups, the Bowie Supportive Housing Corporation, and would like to recognize the things that you do and the people that are doing the work. So, Mr. Stev, if you want to lead the band down to the front.
So for those of you who don't know, Gary Allen and the folks he has up here tonight have been active in our community for quite some time. Gary in particular, many of you will recognize, unless you're brand new to Bowie or living under a rock, is a former mayor of the city, has been very active in every conceivable environmental project going on in the city now for many decades. He's been chairman of the Environmental Advisory Committee since almost nearly its inception, I want to say.
Since its inception.
Since inception. Literally after the Civil War. And he and his team have been supportive of many different initiatives on a whole bunch of different fronts. But tonight we're going to talk about one of those initiatives in particular, which is the work that they've done helping families in need move into transitional housing. There are now 2 homes in the city of Bowie, Alpha and Beta House. Alpha House has been in Old Bowie in operation since 1990. Beta House just opened last year. In the Long Ridge section, both homes have been providing services to over 100 families now in the last couple of decades. Over 200 families in the last couple of decades, helping them in what's often a very difficult time in their lives. In particular, they focus on women and small children, in particular women who are coming from domestic violence situations. And so they provide them not only with housing, but with many wraparound services that help them move into full-time permanent housing, which they have been able to do in quite a lot of occasions. And so I just wanted to offer the following. A proclamation of the Council of the City of Bowie, Maryland, recognizing Bowie Supportive Housing Corporation and its many volunteers. Whereas the Bowie Supportive Housing Corporation, originally the St. Matthews Housing Corporation, has provided transitional housing for the working poor, whereas as an independent nonprofit, the Bowie Supportive Housing Corporation purchased a 4-bedroom house in 1990, Alpha House, in Old Bowie to provide temporary shelter to families in need. Whereas Alpha House has also provided stable housing for 4 to 6 individuals and counseling, financial, and educational assistance to enable residents to transition back to independent living. Whereas more than 100 individuals and families have been joined the program and have moved on to good jobs with improved educational preparation. And whereas the Bowie Supportive Housing Corporation recently purchased, renovated, and opened Beta House in 2018 to serve additional families, now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Bowie, Maryland hereby recognizes the many volunteers of the Bowie City of the Bowie Supportive Housing Corporation for their selfless work for the betterment of the lives of our community's most vulnerable, and they have our city's profound gratitude for their years of service and our thanks for their continued efforts supporting those in need. Approved and presented by the Council of the City of Bowie, Maryland, April the 1st, signed G. Frederick Robinson, Mayor. Thank you for the work you guys do.
All in favor?
Someone's able to take a picture.
I'd like to get a picture with them, but I'd also like to come out. There are 7 different faith communities and 3 nonprofits involved in our work. 3 of those faith communities are here this evening. Bowie United Methodist Church and their lead minister, All Saints Lutheran Church, St. Matthews United Methodist Church, the Jewish congregation, the Christian Community Presbyterian Church, Grace Lutheran Church. The churches have stepped forward and offered support services for victims of domestic violence in a way that they have never stepped forth in collaborative community ministry here in this area, because each church really can't do the whole job, but taken together their synergy among a number of different congregations that allows us to come together, to work together. In the past year alone, and I'll conclude, these congregations have contributed more than 2,000 volunteer hours in the renovation, upkeep, and services to clients in these programs. And I want to thank them, and I want to thank you for recognizing their efforts in this work in the city of Bowie. Thank you very much. Thank you. Picture of you guys too, so why don't you get up here with me? Okay. Yeah, so why don't you just come on here? Get the ministers right here. Well, hopefully nice to meet you.
These guys are in pictures too.
And I don't know where you're waiting for. You're talking, you know. Squeeze on
Face me at an angle. Everybody who's like that face this way at an angle. So we're all over the road. Mike's going to move the microphone. Oh yes, we don't know where it would be in all pictures. That's right. There you go. All right. Good excellent. Get all in line up alphabetically by height.
Okay. Ready?
Say pizza.
Lito. Excellent. That's good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again to all of you for all that you do to kind of make this city such a delightful place to live. And thank you, Mr. Staff, for bringing that forward. All right, item next, City Manager report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and members and residents of this great city. I have 2 points I'd like to make tonight. Last week, we held a health fair for our employees at the Ken Hill Center, and it was very productive. We had stations covering everything from nutrition to security to investments and everything for our employees so that they can be in good positions both mentally and professionally, and we can retain them because most of our employees are high performers. The other thing I'd like to point out is that we are currently in negotiation with a union contract with the Fraternal Order of Police, a renewal of the existing contract, and that's been going on for about a month or so, and we hope to wrap that up in the next 6 weeks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, Council, consent agenda items A through F. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Marco, second by Dr. Trout. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. New business item A, approval of emergency ordinance 0219. Who's going to handle it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is relative to the small wireless facilities and the interest of telecommunications companies for installing them within this city of Bowie. Small wireless facilities are different than the cell towers that we have traditionally known. With the rollout of 5G, there would not just be a few cell towers scattered about the city. Instead, the technology associated with them would require many smaller facilities throughout the community. Last September, the Federal Communications Commission put in a regulation, an administrative order associated with small wireless facilities that basically put requirements on local governments to authorize the installation of small wireless facilities within our municipal rights-of-way. This is something that is significant for local governments because essentially it has been a federal mandate that allows third parties to utilize our public right-of-ways. This regulation that is in place is subject to litigation by the city of Bowie and many other municipalities working in conjunction, and we've been working on that over the past several months in order to get some clarity in terms of municipal authority relative to the federal direction. So associated with that, while the court action is in play, time horizons keep moving along, and we are reaching the point along at April 15th where we will be required to begin accepting applications for small wireless facilities within the city of Bowie. There have been several actions that we've had to undertake to prepare for that, to be ready for that. Our staff, city attorney, and also special counsel have been working on modifying administrative documents, but we also have a code change that is required, and that's required under Chapter 22, Streets and Sidewalks. So we have presented a number of those changes that have been drafted and are, to the best of our understanding, compliant with the rollout of the small wireless facilities that we need to have in place prior to accepting applications.
No, sir.
Any questions of staff? Mr. Wolfman? Oh, Mr. Sam, I'm sorry.
The other one in the wings. Get my glasses here. Hey, Mr. Mears, good to see you. Thanks for coming out tonight. So a few things on this. Right now, there's an ongoing lawsuit, right? Like
Yes.
1,001 cities have sued the FCC to try and combat the regulation changes. Does this particular policy anticipate any particular outcome of that lawsuit? How does that lawsuit potentially impact this policy?
This in combination with a right-of-way agreement that we have prepared does anticipate multiple outcomes, either whether or not our lawsuit is successful or if the regulations stay in place as is. So this is really intended to kind of bridge both of those scenarios.
If the lawsuit against the FCC is successful, are we prohibited in any way from revising this policy and making the requirements even more stringent down the road?
Did you want to address it?
No, sir. If the litigation which challenges the pair of orders or the several orders that were issued by the FCC last year is successful, it will restore a certain amount of regulatory ability that you may otherwise lose. So no, that would definitely expand your ability to regulate.
Good to know. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your presentation tonight.
Mr. Wolfman?
Good evening, and thanks for the information so far. A couple quick questions. Just from conversations, have you heard of any interested applicants? Has there been any traction anywhere? Anybody kind of nosing around that would suggest that they might be interested in putting something in sooner rather than later?
Well, you have had a number of applications under your existing ordinance by a company called Crown Castle, which is a third-party pole renter, I guess, for lack of a better way to express that. They build and own poles, and then they lease space to major carriers like Sprint and AT&T. We've been approached by AT&T locally. I can't remember whether you specific, because I have a number of jurisdictions that are getting applications in. You have no applications pending at this time, but I would anticipate that activity will ramp up shortly, and so it is advisable for you to have these protections and regulatory frameworks in place before that happens.
And based on what I've seen so far, what I've read through, it looks like this is in keeping with the kind of standard that's been adopted across municipalities, correct?
It has. This part of the challenge with this is new regulation from the FCC. So municipalities are trying to figure out how to deal with what was originally anticipated with small wireless facilities and then the new federal government order. So some jurisdictions had moved forward and have been working with small wireless facilities. So we have reviewed, our legal counsel has reviewed examples from other jurisdictions and based this on those best evaluations.
Okay, thank you. And another question is the regulation. What sort of impact do we expect from that regulation on our other carriers, that is to say in a traditional cell phone environment and or cable environment? Is there any impact from those service providers?
One of the FCC orders that came out last year that we are taking a stand in opposition to would in fact limit the revenue that you derive from existing cable franchise agreements and impact in particular your PEG fees. Mm-hmm. So again, it's important that we keep up the fight.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily part of this type of service, though, correct? That's separate and distinct, is that?
They are, although I think my feeling is that as technology moves forward, all of the various forms of telecommunications technology are going to sort of merge, and it's going to be hard to distinguish between them from a regulatory standpoint. But yes, they're treated differently at the moment.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Trout?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to our city attorney. In the lawsuit, who are the parties in the lawsuit?
Well, it's an appeal of an administrative agency determination, so it's various factions. The industry is on one side, and the local governments and other proponents of regulatory restraint are on the other side, but the party against whom the action is proceeding is the FCC.
Right. Now, with the other parties, when you say local governments, that's the local governments where?
All over the country.
All over the country?
Yeah, it's nationwide. It actually started off with multiple coalitions, multiple independent local governments, all filing orders in various courts across the nation. It's been going through where there have been consolidation orders, bringing those all down into the same district court so that they can be heard at the same time.
Ninth Circuit is where it's pending,
Okay.
primarily at this point.
Okay. With regard to... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that was one of the few good milestones along this path.
Okay. With regard to other participants, do we have any other participants specifically in Prince George's County and in the state of Maryland?
We do in the state of Maryland. I've seen several of the names on there, but I think Westminster's involved, Tacoma Park's involved. There are quite a number of municipalities in Maryland. I'd have to review the list to know how many in Prince George's are involved versus statewide. Part of the effort, I did reach out along with MML to all of the municipalities in Maryland last fall to let them know of a couple of the consortiums that were joining together, and I do know municipalities joined in after that call, so we do have representation from multiple in Maryland.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, staff? All right, Council, you have in front of you emergency ordinance 0219. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stev,
Second.
second by Dr. Trout. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Approval resolution R 2019, approving the facility design.
So this item, again, associated with the small wireless facilities, one of the concerns from local government is in regards to the aesthetic impact of wireless facilities. Part of the federal regulations has allowed for a certain size of the equipment, and those have been colloquially known as the pizza box and the refrigerator. Essentially what that means is the small wireless facilities can have antenna structures up to the size of a pizza box and the equipment cabinets up to the size of a refrigerator that are associated on every pole, and these could potentially be up to every 200 feet or so along right-of-ways in terms of the technology that's needed. So one of the things that local governments have the ability to do is to put in some design requirements and some design regulations to help stem the impact of the pizza box and the refrigerator. And so we have a draft of, or a prepared set of design guidelines that by adopting these, we will be able to provide to the industry so that they can work within those for improving the aesthetics of these installations.
Do we have anybody signed up to speak? I declare public hearing to be complete. Questions of staff? All right, Council, then I recommend approval for resolution R 2019. Mr. Stead?
So moved.
Second. Moved and second by Mr. Wolfley. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Before we move to adjournment, I just want to take a personal moment here, and that is, you know, I've known a lot of really good people over my lifetime, and some people that have been associated with the city over the years who have done great things for the city and great things. And one of those happens to be a guy named Robert Levan, who's going to celebrate a birthday this week. And on behalf of all of us, we would like to ask council if you would convey to your father how much he's remembered and respected, and wish him a happy birthday for us.
That was beautiful, Mayor. Thank you very much. It will mean a lot to him. He values the years that he spent serving the city as one of the great things that he accomplished during his career, I know. His birthday is actually last Thursday, and we had a very lovely celebration this weekend, and
Great,
I'm very grateful for your acknowledgement of
All right, give him our best wishes and tell him cake is fine, no skateboards.
Indeed.
Mr. Gardner, you ready?
Always, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to move to adjourn.
Second by Dr. Trout. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Good night, folks.
Good night.